Hello and welcome to This Week in Bitcoin, brought to you by Relai Private. And this week we've got two news coming out of Asia. One interesting news in the mining department, the other one with Bitcoin as a treasury reserve asset. And then we also got some interesting data out of America that shows that for some reason, retail is driving the ETF price increase. Let's get started with the first news out of Bhutan, the small kingdom in South Asia that surprised everyone last year when they announced a 500 million investment into their Bitcoin mining infrastructure. Everyone sort of reacted, what mining infrastructure? What are you guys doing? And we then found out that they've been actually mining Bitcoin since 2018. So they've been doing a pretty good job in that department. And they built out their infrastructure to 100 megawatts. This week, they announced they are going to expand this to 600 megawatts. The timing is quite interesting, just before the halving, just before you make the changes as miners to make sure that you live through the next couple of years with the reduced block reward. And they who have an incredible access to cheap electricity and energy over there, they're for sure doing the right thing, proving that Bitcoin mining is a competitive market, but it allows small countries like Bhutan to also take part in. Then news number two are also out of Asia. Metaplanet, a public company in Japan, has announced that they're going to buy 1 billion yen, which is around 6.5 million US dollars, in Bitcoin and put it on their balance sheet, just like MicroStrategy did. For now, it's a test, so they want to see what they need to do, how the handling is, how the whole process is, but they've been fascinated by the strategy Michael Saylor did with his company, and they want to do the same, mainly to hedge against inflation and just a currency that is in a death spiral. I mean, if you look at the Japanese yen, it's miserable at this point, and they knew that they need to do something. Good on them if they continue stacking sats, and if they don't even have to be as aggressive as MicroStrategy, for example. But if they continue doing this work, they're doing the right thing. They did the most important step. They sat down, they researched Bitcoin, and they decided to give it a go. And we'll look forward to how many sats they will buy in the future. And then last but definitely not least, we also have news out of America. Jan van Eck, which is the CEO of VanEck, one of the Bitcoin ETF issuers, and they generally also issue quite a lot of other ETFs, they're pretty much specialized in that, has announced in a recent interview that they see over 90% of their inflows into the ETF. By the way, I really love their ticker. It literally says HODL, that they see that from private retail, and that he doesn't anticipate that that's going to change drastically in the future. Although he defined private retail a bit differently. He says 10 million or down. Depends if you look at things. I personally don't know someone who YOLOs 10 million into an ETF. So there is some discrepancies there. But he says that all of that price increase, that drive comes from retail. 10% is about institutional. However, he also mentioned that he's pretty certain that with the halving coming up now and all of these things that will also see institutional adoption, they just take longer to get started. That was his argument. And once they realize what a potential Bitcoin has, they now have the opportunity to get in through the ETFs. Not real Bitcoin, I know, and all of these negative aspects with not self-custody, but for these companies who are often not allowed to hold Bitcoin on their own or have very strict regulation, this actually makes sense to get started. And with that, we're at the end of This Week in Bitcoin. You know the drill. If you've got feedback, questions, just want to say hi, leave us a comment below, and I look forward to seeing you next week again.